Gracie, welcome.
Hi.
We are here with Gracie today. Gracie was a Envision coach. When were you a coach? How long has it been since you were a coach?
Damn.
Was
Maybe
your babies? How old are your babies?
11 months.
Okay, so 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you were with us, and you were a PT coach and a group coach as well. Gracie joined Envision through a winter challenge, right? We did a winter challenge, and she got some amazing results. And then I looked at her, and I was like, well, and I looked into her profile, and I saw that she played soccer, and I was like, well, I want an athlete in here. So I reached out to you, and, you didn't have much experience at the time, and we brought you in, and we got you enrolled and taught you the way, and you became a great coach with us. And now Gracie, like I stated before, has not one, but two babies, right?
Two babies.
Got gifted twins. And
Yes.
and now she's also running a meal prep company at the same time, which is very impressive what you're doing, by the way.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what it's been like for you, especially for the last 2 years, what that transition has been like. I know that for moms it's very difficult sometimes going from, especially when you have a career that you're chasing. It sounded like fitness was something that you were very passionate about, coming from becoming an athlete before, and then getting into the food industry, meal preps in particular, to help customers, improve their eating. What was that like for you when you started to, you found out that you were a mom, that you were going to be a mom? What was that experience like for you?
I think it was a shocker more than anything, because I feel like I was at a really good, I felt like I was in a good place, working with you guys and learning. I wanted to expand Fit Life too. We were talking about it, and then it was like, oh, I'm pregnant, and then it was like a roller coaster of emotions. Okay, I'm gonna be a mom. What am I going to do? Am I still going to coach? All these thoughts that come into place. And then it was like finding out it's not just one, there's two in there, and it was like, whoa. I think being a first time mom and then having twins was it was a lot. I feel like I'm losing where I'm going. But the transition of being a mom, being like all into the gym, having free time, and being a mom, has it comes with its challenges,
Were you scared at the beginning?
I was scared. I was
like, what was that thought like? What was the thought when you? So how did you find out? You went to a clinic, or?
So actually, yeah, I remember telling you, like, I'm gonna take some time off because I started feeling sick, and I went on vacation with my family, and I even thought I had COVID again, and and then so I decided to take a pregnancy test because I was like, something's not right. I don't feel good.
Right.
Something's off, and I know this is not COVID. So I decided to take pregnancy test, and there's pregnant written on the little test. So I was just like, oh, great. And, I didn't know whether to be happy, to be sad. It was just like a lot.
Yeah.
And then I think I found out maybe 2 or 3 weeks later because it was just too early on in the pregnancy to do an ultrasound. So they waited until like maybe 8 or 9 weeks. And yeah, they found out there was 2 in there. And, that was even a shocker to both me and Rafa. And it was just like, whoa, we're going to be parents. And I just want 2 babies. 2 babies we're like, how are we going to figure it out? Because, like, in our family, we didn't have any small babies. It had been like maybe 6 years since there was like a newborn. And then in Rafa's family side, they were, 2 years and older. So it was just like, they're all singletons. You know, there was nobody that had twins. You know,
right.
that we could seek advice from. Like, oh, how did you feel? You know, you're a parent of multiples. Like, how did you cope with it? And it was just kind of like reaching out to either moms on Instagram, social media, like, and or you know, you walk down the street or you're at the mall and you see like parents with twins and you're like, oh, hey, like I'm expecting twins, like can you give me a little insight of what it's like? And it's like, oh, well, just it's pretty tough, you know, but it's just you're gonna get through it. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know,
great advice,
yeah,
thank you.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely like
Challenging,
and
yeah.
it still is. I mean, I still sometimes I look at them like there's two, like
Yeah.
there's two right there sitting down, like they need a lot of attention, and I think learning to time manage with them is key because I'm working around their schedule. It's not like I'm working with it's not like they're learning.
Yeah.
I mean, they're working around mine because
Right.
it's like, okay, nap time's at this time. That's if you nap, you know, and it's like if one naps, the other one's awake, and it's just like when do you get a break, you know?
Right.
And I think time management is key because one, I had a lot of free time prior to the twins, and now I think, wow, I'm lucky if I get 30 minutes to myself, you know, to work out. So it's like I either wake up early in the morning. I've learned this because I wanted to sleep more, right? Because obviously they wake up a lot at night. So it's like I wanted to sleep in because I don't want to feel so tired at the end of the day. So it was either like sleep in or work out. And it was just like, because throughout the day I wouldn't be able to. So it was like wake up earlier, you know, work out. And then I'm done, you know, done with my workout. And now it's like, okay, now I can be a mom. Now I can be, you know, like my attention will be on you guys versus me like, oh, I need to work out. Or like my mind's somewhere else, like stressing out about doing stuff for me. And it's just like, well, now I have to find a time to do that, you know, like it's not just like, oh, I'll do it, you know, while you guys are awake. Like, no.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've over the time you figured out that, hey, mom needs to come first. If I don't take care of myself first, then all of a sudden, like I can basically, it's a gamble if I'm going to get a workout or not, right? And I think that's, especially after seeing Andrea go through it, you know, with one, it's obviously very challenging. You're sleep deprived. Were you and you breastfed?
Breastfed for 8 months.
Yeah, so 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for us, Luca, what do they call it? Cluster feeding.
Cluster feeding.
So he'd wake up like every 40 minutes to 2 hours, and he just wouldn't sleep. So Andrea got a lot of broken sleep, and that took a big toll on her.
Yeah.
Right now, what you're saying is 2 of them. Sometimes one of them is up. Sometimes one of them is asleep. So if one wakes up, the other one's asleep, and then by the time the other one goes to bed, the other one wakes up. So it's really hard to get any types of breaks. You know what's and I don't want to say that I called it, but remember, I heard you on a podcast. I remember you went on this podcast, and they asked you the question of being a mom, and I think you put it out there, and you were like, I think you said something like, "Oh, you know, maybe in the future." Yeah, you said that exactly. And and I told Dre, "Oh my God, it's gonna happen." And then you started feeling sick like a few weeks later, and I remember I told you, I was like, "You should get checked." Yeah. Because I remember you got COVID, and then you were like, "Oh, I think I got it again." I asked you about your symptoms, and it was like, no COVID symptom. Like, you should go check. Yeah. You know, and then I was like, I called it. Yep. I definitely called it.
Yeah. You even said I had a glow, and I was like, no.
I use the term the glow. Yeah. It's interesting how sometimes we put it out there and it actually happens. Yeah. You know, I've had a lot of those moments where, you know, I throw something out into the universe, and then all of a sudden, here it is. Here's what you wanted. Yeah. So Careful what you say.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But so obviously it's been a challenging road for you being a mom, and a mom of two, first of all, and going from I think being on the right path towards a career that you wanted to go to, and then having to put that on standby for a little bit. But it seems like you've been able to just pick that right up.
Yeah.
Right. It seems like you've learned to, okay, if I can't get a workout throughout the day, then I had to be more proactive and I had to wake up first. But which is something that you don't see a lot, at least in our community. Usually the mom becomes and I hate to use this word, but almost like a servant to the kids, right?
Yeah.
Because it's basically what you're doing. You're putting all your attention and you're putting yourself last. But what happens over time is you start beating yourself up. You start beating yourself up. You start beating yourself up. And then what tends to happen with a lot of women is they start gaining a lot of weight, right? And so then there's a whole nother like set of emotions that come with that.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I don't know if I like that, or clothes doesn't start fitting the right way anymore. And then it's just this downward spiral that starts to happen. How much weight did you gain during your pregnancy?
I gained around 35 pounds.
Okay, so, and then I remember, because you were like, what, 125, somewhere around there?
The last time, I actually remember, the last time I did the, what is it, the weight?
The in-body scan?
The in-body scan, I was like 132.4.
Okay.
And then I think my weight was like 164-ish.
Okay.
So
about 32 pounds.
Yeah.
And then how long did that take for you to get rid of?
So it took, so I breastfed, and I mean, a lot of moms would say like, oh, you burn calories, breastfeed, so like eat as much as you can too, because I'm feeding, 2 babies. So I think the breastfeeding helped a lot, remove the baby weight, I guess you could say. But it took me maybe like 3 months for me to like feel that I was like back to like my normal weight. Actually at my 6-week appointment, I was already like maybe 140.
Oh wow.
So it was just like I think I did a lot of walking too.
Right.
Once I could walk, obviously I had abdominal surgery, cesarean. So it was like the recommendation was walk as soon as you can, so that you're able to establish your core strength again. So once I could walk like freely, like I did every day, and I still do it every day. So I think that has helped me, lose the weight, because I think also once I stopped breastfeeding, I wasn't burning enough calories anymore. Right. So I did start noticing like my belly grow after a while. I'm used to having like a flat stomach. Yeah. So it was just like I started feeling uncomfortable in my body because, one, I was eating out a lot because I didn't have time to cook. And so it was like eating out or just finding time to eating whatever, leftovers, and it just started to get to a point where I was just like, man, my jeans don't fit as good as they used to. So it was like wearing loose fitting clothing, jeans like that were baggy so that I could feel better about myself. But I was like, no, like I want to wear the jeans that, the ones that I wore pre-pregnancy,
right.
And I was just like, I need to do something about it. So that's when I started taking my workouts more seriously too, my nutrition again, because I was cooking for other people, And
ironically.
I was cooking for other people, and I kept telling myself, I cook for other people, but I don't cook for myself. That's interesting,
Yeah.
So I started meal prepping for myself, because again, I don't. There's no time, or like leaving the kids for like 10, 15 minutes to like make something for myself, but it's like they're bawling their eyes out because they're alone, you know. So it's like, yeah.
So okay, so it's interesting you say, because if all of you have seen Gracie, obviously Gracie's ripped like year round, right? It's quads, just you're ripped all the time, right? And it's interesting to hear that a person like you, who obviously has very good habits coming into a pregnancy, right? And that even a person like you would still slightly lose control, right? We can say you couldn't understand management of time at the at the beginning, and it made you experience what it feels like to look at yourself in the mirror and not be happy with it. Is that something that in the past you've experienced as well? I know that you came into a challenge, but you were pretty slim back then as well. But was it the same type of emotion that you had when you originally came in, or was it different?
It was different. I think prior to coming to the challenge, it was more of a like, okay, I wanna gain muscle, because I felt like I was fit, I guess you could say, like lean, but I wanted to gain more muscle because obviously I wanted to look better for myself. So it was like, I felt it was also like, okay, what do I eat, because I didn't know what to eat. Like, how do I eat to feel myself? Because I can't follow, like, I don't know, somebody's diet that I have no idea who you are, how much you weigh, how active you are, but you give me your meal plan and it's like, oh, follow it, and it's only like 1,200 calories, and it's like, how am I supposed to like sustain myself throughout the day with that, and it's like, coming to the challenge, it was like, okay, well, this is what you should eat, based off on your body weight goals, your goals, what it was based off on my goals, and it was not like my goal was not to lose weight. It was more like to tone up and like gain muscle mass, because I mean, I didn't have anything else to lose, like I was already pretty slim, and I didn't.
So it sounds like it was at the beginning, it was lack of education, obviously, right? You didn't, not knowing what to eat, and then it sounds like you were content, but you just wanted more. You wanted to do more for yourself. And then what was the pregnancy like?
The pregnancy, well, one, I went to looking super shredded, like I was like, I would say I was at like the leanest and probably best shape of my life, I think. And then going into a pregnancy, and it's like your body's changing, your belly's growing. I had never been, I guess, overweight, you could say. So seeing my belly grow, it was just like, whoa, I'm growing. But it was just a mindset of like, you're pregnant, you're growing 2 babies, and then I would see like moms of other twins, like how big they got, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get that big, like that's it, I'm ruined, it was just like a lot of reassurance, telling myself it's just the pregnancy, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna bounce back, I guess you could say. But it was more like I lost my train of thought.
No, you're good. So yeah, I mean, so you're looking at yourself and you're saying like, is that skin gonna go back? Like, what were some of your thoughts that went through your head during that time when you're starting to see yourself grow and you're looking at everybody else and you're like, what was your biggest fear, like realistically?
That my skin would be stretched out, lose all the progress, that I had made throughout the years, because I feel like I worked really hard for that. And then it's like, now I feel like I would have to start all over. And that's how I felt after giving, birth to the babies. Like, my core strength was gone. Like, from having abs to having 0 abs, it was like, oh man, like, how do I regain that strength, And it was definitely challenging. But during the first couple of months, I kept telling myself it was like recover, you're gonna be okay. Just you know, like make sure you recover fully, like from your surgery, versus trying to get back in again. It was like patience. I don't want to have to, I don't know, like, I don't want to I don't want to go straight into it and then like injure myself or something. I messed something up down there, you know, like my surgery. And it was, it was challenging, but I feel like as the months have gone by, it's been more like learning to love my new body that I'm in. You know, I wouldn't say I'm at my pre baby body, but I'm pretty content of where I'm at, and I feel like there's it's just learning to love yourself. I'm like, wow, I grew 2 humans. Like
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah, and I'm sure you are an inspiration to a lot of women out there, right? Like, I saw a video of you earlier today. I think you were doing, I don't know if it was from today or yesterday, but you were doing trap bar deadlifts. I'm like, she looks like nothing ever happened, right?
Yeah.
And you know, Dre, same thing happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
She went into it, put on a bunch of weight, came right out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you walk a lot through your pregnancy as well? Were those the habits that, like, what were the habits that you kept? Because it sounds like food might have gone a little bit out the window due to lack of time. But what were some of those habits that you kept that you think that made a big difference?
Well, throughout my pregnancy, I still worked out as much as I could. Obviously, like the first trimester was pretty like I was tired most of the time, but I still did what I could. And then I guess as your belly is growing, you know, there's recommendations of things you shouldn't do, exercises you should avoid because it could cause preterm labor. And I was a high risk pregnancy, so I was like, there's no way I'm gonna risk any of that. So I still did what I could. And yeah, I would say I worked out up until the last day of my scheduled C-section. And I worked out, I would say 4 times out of 7 days, and walked every day. We did hiking. I ran when I could, you know. Mm-hmm. And even though a lot of people recommended me not to run, I was like still running. So it was building those habits. I was just like, I want to have a healthy pregnancy. I want to feel good, you know. Even though I'm growing 2 humans, I'm getting big, I still want to feel good, like, about myself. I don't want to feel like so beaten down, like, oh man, like sick or something, because I didn't make those decisions, you know.
Yeah. What did you use to reassure your decisions? Like, did you use some type of inspiration from somebody online that you were looking at and you're like, okay, well, this person's doing this? Or did you just start listening to your body? What was that like for you? Because for me, like, and Andrea's pregnant at the moment, right? And we were doing the trail running. We had just ran a marathon, and then she finds out she's pregnant. And then she signs up to all these races, and I'm just like, okay, is this safe? Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I remember telling her, you know, and believe me, I love to encourage people to do stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, go all out. But when you're in this side of the coin, it's very different, right? Because now I don't get to feel anything, right? And I know that she's tough, and I know that she wants to push through. And so I was like, are you sure you're able to do that, right? Like, is it too much? Is it, you know? Yeah. I was a little concerned, but then I went online and I looked up women running and doing all these amazing things, and I was like, go for it. Mm-hmm. I'm all in too, right? Did you do something like that, or how did you decide, like, okay, this is as far as I can go, or this is good to go, this is not?
It's interesting because I follow a lot of like gym. I would say personal trainers, women, and prior to getting pregnant, prior to me getting pregnant, they were actually pregnant. So I started following their journey, you know, following some like bikini body like wellness champions, and they were pregnant. So I was just like, huh, that's interesting. Like, and seeing them, you know, they post a lot. They post every day. So it's like um, seeing them work out, and I was just like, oh, you know, that's pretty cool. Like, that's that you should be doing that, right? Like,
Right.
and so then when I was pregnant, I was just like, I want to be like them. You know, I want to work
Yeah.
out too. Like, I want to feel good. Like, they're still shredded, even though they have a big belly. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they still got big quads, big muscles, like arms. Like, um, so yeah, I did a lot of that. I started following a lot of those pages. So like they were inspiring me to keep to stay active during my
Yeah.
pregnancy.
And did you at some point figure out like, okay, if I share my journey, like, did you make that your own goal too? Like, I want to inspire more people as well, or
Yeah,
were you
yeah,
just
because I feel like a lot of women too that are expecting are kind of like, oh, I shouldn't work out, you know, or like it's the like lack of education too, like, or I remember my mom, my grandma too, or like other relatives telling me, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be running, you shouldn't be all these shouldn'ts, you know, and I'm like, why? But I feel good. Like I've been doing it for years already. Like I've been lifting weights. Like I'm not
Yeah.
doing anything new. It's just accommodating to my new body, you know.
Right.
And it was just like learning to kind of like put a barrier on those like people telling me don't do it, and I was just like, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna inspire other women. Hopefully, you know, like they see me working out, and they're like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, I want to do that too when I'm pregnant, or like
Yeah.
even if they're not pregnant, hopefully I could inspire them too.
Yeah. Did you and what was the reaction you got from everybody around you?
Positives all the time, like positives. People telling me, you know, like, wow, I can't believe you're still working out and you got a big belly, you know. And I was just like, well, I'm trying to do my best, you know.
Yeah.
And but a lot of positives. I don't think I ever saw any negative comments on there, or like people telling me like don't do it. Besides, you know, like family, that's more
Yeah.
like careful, like what you
Yeah.
do, you know, I don't want you getting hurt, you know. But
Yeah. Which comes from care,
Mhm.
obviously, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's against you succeeding.
Yeah.
It's more of like it's old customs.
Yeah, it's all customs.
Right? Se te va a caer el niño.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We've all heard that. We've all heard that.
Resbalar,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Well, that's awesome. And did you see a difference in your babies? Like, are they very active now? Have
yes.
are they walking yet?
Not walking, but very mobile, very, very active. And sometimes I think that had to do a lot with the pregnancy. Because even from the very beginning, after they were born, they wanted to be like rocked,
Moving,
like to sleep. And I was just like, great, it's on me, you know, like I was so active that they're so used to the moving, like they can't just be still. And I feel like, I mean, the pregnancy being so active, it was just rolled onto them.
Yeah.
Like,
and so and everything came out well, obviously,
everything
right?
came
They're
out
healthy.
Yep.
You know, they're so funny whenever you post all the pictures of them. Me and Dre get so many good laughs. They have these big eyes that just look at you.
Big guys.
That's awesome. And then so you become a mom, right? And you learn along the way that, hey, if I put myself first, this is the only way that's going to happen. Like, this is the only way that I'm actually going to succeed at this. And so you start doing that, right? When did you start working back on the business? Like, how did you start working on the business first before you started working on yourself? Like, in what order did it happen?
So while I was pregnant, I cooked up until the last week of my scheduled C-section. So every Sunday, Wednesday, I was cooking. And with help, I had to hire help, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to start feeling tired, being on my feet all the time, you know. So I hired help, and luckily she's still with me. She's been doing great, and but after giving birth to the babies, after the babies arrived, it was like the business can't stop. Like, it just can't, you know? So it was like, luckily I had trained, you know, my helper to kind of know the system to so she could help me, and obviously with the help of my mom too. And once I started feeling better, like that I was able to like bend down, because obviously I couldn't bend so like quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It was like um, after I started feeling better, I jumped back in, and I was like, okay, now we're gonna get rolling again. And it was again like every weekend, but then it just kind of became very steady, and it was more like it wasn't really growing. And then I started losing like interest myself. Like, I was like, I have to cook. It was becoming like a drag.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, I have to cook on Sunday. Oh, I have to cook on Wednesday. I don't want to. And it was like, oh, if I get orders, I get orders. If I don't, it became, um, it became something that I lost interest of, and my attention was just all on the boys, and it was like, forget about Fit Life meals. And I even thought to myself, maybe I should just stop. I should just stop doing it. It crossed my mind like a couple of times, because I was like, I can't do it. There's no time. I'm not gonna grow it. You know, all these negative thoughts
Yeah.
come into my head.
Yeah, it's interesting if you get into that mindset, right? You start having these negative comments in your head, and you allow them to come in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all of a sudden they start one after another. They start you open the
Yeah.
door, and they just come right
Yeah.
in. And obviously, I'm sure that's a difficult moment for you, right? Because you start, that self-doubt comes
Mm-hmm.
in. Like, am I good enough for this? Is
Mm-hmm.
it not growing because, this is not meant for me? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure some of those thoughts came to your head. Why did you decide to not stop?
Um,
Where was the breaking moment?
Breaking moment was, um, I started seeing other competitions. I'm just gonna be blunt about it. Like, I started seeing other competitions in the local area, and I was just like, no. Like,
It's
I
my
love
house.
I love competition. But I've always wanted to be like, if not the best, one of the best. And I'm just like, okay, I need to get it together, and I need to do something about it, because if not, they're just gonna come right in and take over, And I was just like, no. So I had to tell myself, like, it's okay to hire help. So I hired help for the boys. Like, it took me a while for me to realize, like, that I need help, because I'm more of the type that's like, I can do it all on my own. Like, I don't need anybody's help. I got it. God gave me 2 babies for a reason. Like, he doesn't give you anything you can't handle. So I was like, I can do this, until, like, again, I hit a breaking point, and I was just like, I can't do it. I need help.
Yeah.
And so now the boys have a nanny, and she comes to the house. She takes care of them while I get to do work, and which one has helped a lot, because I get to actually work on my business, work on myself, and it's been really good.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was a very difficult decision for you to make.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to some friends that have babies as well, and I know that they've been in similar situations. We were in similar situation as well, right? Dre also works in the business, and I think we sent Luca to daycare at month 9, so he was 9 months when we sent him in, and it was challenging,
Mm-hmm.
because there goes my baby.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to raise him the right way? And
Mm-hmm.
we're very fortunate that he was put in an amazing daycare, and they treat him very well. And what's actually really cool to see is how structured they are.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we found out is that by him being with other kids, and most of them were older as well, there's some babies in there, but he picked up socializing a lot faster, and
Yeah.
he would shake their hand. They would shake
Mhm.
their hand every time they left. And for me, it was really cool to see because, one, there's no book of how to raise a child,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and I haven't been around babies in a long time, similar to you. And so for me, it was very difficult to understand. Like, what do I teach him?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
having these caregivers, or people that have been doing it for 25 years, they obviously have a system down.
Mhm.
They everything's on spot,
Yeah.
and they have lunch, and then they all grab their blanket and they put themselves to sleep. And I was
Mhm.
like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We get him
Mhm.
at home and he's
Yeah.
all over the place. But it was really cool, and it was great to see an example for us to follow.
Mhm.
And that's where we're like, okay, we need schedules, we need to create all these habits for him and these environments, and he needs to be socializing with other kids.
Yeah.
It helped with his speech. It helped
Mhm.
him really be better at speaking, and and so on. So for you, it must have been very difficult to just hand them off,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure, did it feel like a selfish decision? Like,
Mhm.
what crossed your mind during that time?
Selfish. Even like dropping them off at my mother-in-law's too. It was just like I felt like there was that mom guilt. Like, why am I not taking care of them? Like, why do I need some time for myself? Like, I shouldn't. Like, um, and yeah, I felt selfish. But they love her, and she got along with them too. And it was just like, well, this is great. It was the
Yeah,
best decision too. Like hiring help,
yeah.
asking for help more than anything.
I think the mom guilt comes from, a lot of it comes from too how we were raised,
Mhm.
right? Like my mom took care of all of us, and that was her role
Mhm.
in the family. And I'm sure that her mom did the same thing,
Mhm.
right? Was that something that was for you? Did your mom, when you were born, did your mom raise you for a long time before she went back into work, or were you taken to daycare at an early age?
Which is interesting because my parents were young parents, so my mom was still trying to get her schooling done. My dad had to go to work, finding out that I'm like on the way, so he was trying to work. And so I spent a lot of the time with my grandparents, my mom's parents. And so they became pretty much my caregivers. And obviously I knew mom was mom, dad was dad, but grandma and grandpa were like mom and dad at the point, every time I was with them. And so it was, so it's interesting for me that for me to feel like that mom guilt, because my mom was okay with, as long as I was with grandma and grandpa, I was okay. And like even when she would drop me off like at daycare at CSUMB, because they had daycare center, I think, um, like she was okay leaving me there too. Um, and yeah, I remember going to daycare with like other family members too. And so it's interesting that I feel that way, because my mom was more than okay with leaving. I think she was more than okay. I mean, maybe she felt mom guilt too, but I know
Yeah,
she did it because she had to chase her dreams too,
yeah.
And now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, she did it for that reason.
Right. And so here you are
Yeah,
now,
here I am.
chasing your dreams as
I
well.
know, yeah.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's a hurdle, I think, that you have to cross, right?
Mhm.
It's one of those thoughts that slows you down for a little bit and makes you, analyze decisions. But obviously, you found that chasing your dream is just as important as being a mom,
Mhm.
right? Did you feel that when you were becoming a mom, did you feel like there was a part of you that was missing? Did you feel like there was an old Gracie that was lost?
Oh, I felt lost for a few months. And I'm not gonna say I don't feel lost still, but um, I felt lost. Like I was like learning to become a mom of two babies, learning to become a partner, a daughter too, and it was a lot, like, and um, there was like a sense of like, yeah, I lost identity. I was lost. I was feeling depressed, and I was getting down on myself. Like, man, this is motherhood is is wild. Like, people don't talk about this, you know, and until I started like scrolling on Instagram, it's like Instagram knows like what you're thinking, because then they're like parenthood, motherhood, like, and then you start reaching out to moms, or they reach out to you too because they feel the same way, and then you just kind of communicate online, and that kind of helps, you know, like you're not alone, and telling myself, you know, this is just temporary. It's like a season, you know.
Yeah.
It's You're gonna get through it. The season's gonna pass. You're living in their moment right now, and your time will come, you know.
Right.
But it's learning to also um, manage like parenthood, and while also growing a business, because I want to grow it. I mean,
Yeah.
if I wait, you know, until this passes, it's like it's never gonna come unless
Yeah.
I actually make time for it.
You're living in that moment, in their moment.
Yeah.
Your time will come.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, my turn. My
Yeah.
turn. It's time to start building this.
Yeah.
Right? And since you've made that change, what what happened with your mindset? Did you start, all of a sudden, did you start feeling energized? All of a sudden, did you start finding some sense of purpose?
And change of mindset, because I was feeling very down, and all these negative thoughts, as we were talking about, they just come in, and it feels like it never stops, and kind of just putting a stop to it, telling yourself like, hey, relax, like, what are some of the things that make me happy? So working out, eating healthy, even going out to grab a coffee, you know, or go to the beach. Those are some of the things that kind of bring joy to me. So it's like I need to start doing more of those things so I can start feeling good and happy. I can't pour from an empty cup to these kids. So if I don't feel good, they're not going to feel good, or they're going to sense my energy, and they're going to be like, hey, mom's not okay, you know, or they start crying more, and it's like, why are you crying? And all these negative things just come into place, and it's just like I started to realize, like, I need to do something for myself. I need to do something for them too. I want them to, you know, in the future say like, hey, mom built this, mom, this is my mom's place, you know. And it's just like it's just kind of looking into the future, even though you have to stay in the present to get to the future. But just thinking long term. And
Does your mom own a business?
my mom does not own a business.
Okay. Any of your parents do?
None of my parents, my grandparents do. So
Okay.
I think that's where I got the business like insight. And I wouldn't say I'm all like knowledgeable about business or like all the back end stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still learning. But like I saw my grandparents build different businesses, you know, like going from like, actually they had one here in Watsonville at the DC, it was like a discount mall.
Okay.
Here, and then they went to like Gilroy, and then they just stayed in Gilroy, and then they have like a growing business. So I'm like, my grandparents did it, I could do it too, you know.
Right.
And then I see my aunt that has a brewery too. She built it, and then also just got a new one too, the Carnaval. And it's like, wow, I want to have something for me too. Like I want to grow Fit Life meals, because that's gonna be mine.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your business. So what exactly is Fit Life? What do you do?
So I can I drink water?
Yeah,
Okay,
go for it.
because I'm like,
You're dry. I told you. Let me get it.
okay, I'm like going dry over here.
No worries. Keep it.
Fit Life meals. So when I first started this, it was more of a hobby. I was doing it for myself. Um, and then it was like my uncle wanted to try my meals, and he was like, "Hey, I'll be your guinea pig, and let me see if I actually lose weight. Since you're all about the healthy lifestyle." I told him, "Okay." So he was my guinea pig, and he actually lost a pretty good amount of weight. I'm not sure if he did it the right way because he was probably not eating like the proper nutrition.
Right.
Like I was giving him not what I would eat, like not 4 ounces, maybe like 5 or 6 ounces, but he needed maybe more, of protein, like six, probably six or more. And it was just like, and it just continued like that, like word, like
Word of mouth.
word
It
of
starts
mouth.
spreading.
So it just continued like that, and then until I actually like created an Instagram for it, a logo, because it was more like on the down low, and it was just I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. So then working here at Envision, it blew my mind how people viewed nutrition. Like, I mean, you see it, you hear it all the time. You talk to
Yeah.
people all the time.
Yeah.
Like, they feel like eating less is actually better than eating what they should be eating, and it's like carbs are bad for you. I shouldn't be eating carbs. Even fruit is bad for you because it has carbs and or too much sugar. And you start thinking like, man, you guys really think like that, and so my goal is to educate people more on the nutritional side while also providing like a healthy, balanced meal, and then also creating like different alternatives. Like maybe your favorite meal is like, I don't know, kung pao chicken from like Panda Express.
Right.
How do I create a healthier version of that for you? Or beef and broccoli, or chicken fajitas. And it's like you could still you could still eat healthy, a healthier way, without all those added.
Right.
Um,
So just adding more flavor.
yeah, adding
Right.
flavor. Because in the very beginning, I was doing like chicken, rice, and it was just like very
Yeah.
plain and bland. And I was just like, man, I don't want to eat this every day. Like, it's pretty boring, eating the same thing every
Yeah.
day. It becomes boring,
Yeah, of
because
course.
I've done it, and you start to have like a bad relationship with food, and then that's when you start losing like track of your goals, because then you're like, oh, I have to eat chicken and rice
Yeah.
again. Yeah. So my business, I want to create those different options for people, like whether you're looking for fat loss or like maintenance, or even like gaining weight, because some people want to gain weight, or gain muscle mass, and it's like, well, you can't do it all, you have to choose one. And it's more than anything, educating people versus just providing a healthy meal.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the meal is great, but I think without the education, right, you're just it's almost like you're taking a drug, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And, I mean, there's a huge opportunity, I think, for you, because if we look at the food industry right now, it's a mess. It's a complete mess. I was watching a documentary the other day, and it said they gave a stat, and it was 70% of 70% of our food in America is processed. And I was just like, oh my God, like we're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, if you think about it, like 70% of anything that you have your hands on is processed. So you have to be very intentional, and you have to be very educated to pick and choose what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Because now, once again, we do also have all the marketing that happens, right? Like 5 grams of protein on a bag of chips.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You know what I mean? And for someone who doesn't have the education, well, it's got protein. Let's eat it.
Yeah.
Right? Or people don't know how to read labels on the back. Is that something that you try to educate as well?
Yeah. So that's something that I'm working on. So now that I'm getting back into it,
Yeah.
you know, getting into the business mindset. And that's something that I want to educate, because when I did the summer school with Dre, I mean, I was surprised too. Kids like nowadays, I mean, they just grab whatever they can get their hands on, you know. And it's like, she was like talking about nutrition and the nutrition labels, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. People don't talk about that either. Like, people don't read the back of their food packages.
Yeah, I'm very curious how many, like, that would be a really good study to do, and ask, 1,000 people, like,
or
when's the
actually
last time
know
you read a
what
label?
you're reading, you know. It's versus just reading the calories, because that's what most people look at, calories. Like, and it's like, okay, the serving says it's like maybe a cup, that's the calories, you know. It's not, the whole bag is 130 calories.
It's 130 calories. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
There goes 1,000 calories.
Yeah,
that's been a big one. Because I think a lot of people also, they look at health, they look at healthy options. Like, I've had customers I had a customer who actually was snacking a lot on peanuts, right? And he's like, I eat pretty healthy. I'm not sure why I'm not losing weight, right? And we went through his entire food log, and he was eating a lot of meats, which was great. He was eating a lot of salads, and I'm like, okay, so your food sounds great. I'm like, do you snack? He's like, here and there. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm cycling all the time, and so I just don't understand. I'm like, okay, what do you snack on? He's like, oh, peanuts. I'm like, okay, we know that fats are double the calories, right? We know that a gram of fat is nine calories, and I know that. And I was like, oh, I know what he's having. He's like, at work they bring these packs of peanuts, right? And it's like 270 calories per bag.
Oh, okay.
He's like, so I just have a few of them. I'm like, okay, let's define a few.
Yeah.
A few bags or a few peanuts? A few bags.
Oh.
Okay, what's a few? Like 3, 5. Is it 3 or is it 5? Well, let's count them. Oh, I had 5. Okay, well, let's go 300 calories times 5. 1,500 calories.
Wow.
Just in snacking.
Yeah.
Why don't we go from 5 to maybe 3 and then go to 1? And then he also had a pint of ice cream every night.
Oh, okay.
And so we removed those 2 things, and then it was like 20 pounds in a month. Didn't have to, that was it, right? And so sometimes people are doing the right thing, right? And it could go both ways. Sometimes people are trying to bulk, and they're eating healthy, but they're just not eating enough calories. And sometimes you're trying to lose weight, and yes, you are eating healthy foods, but maybe you're not eating enough protein, or maybe you're over consuming on the snacks.
Yeah.
Right. And we see that a lot.
Yeah.
We see that quite often. And so what's it been like for you to be a mom and running a business? And I know your partner as well also runs a business. What's that been like for you?
It's been challenging. It's not impossible to run a business and to be a mom, but it's just definitely challenging. There's times where I'm trying to create content on Canva on my computer, and they're just like right there, right next to me, like wanting to see what I'm doing too, which is good, right?
Yeah.
I want them to be curious to see what I'm doing, but then I'm like, well, I need to work,
Yeah.
you know, and it's challenging because finding balance, it's like I said, the boys have a nanny, but she's only there for so long, you know.
Yeah.
And I could hire more help, and it's just like, how do I help myself so I could grow fit life, you know? Because my partner has his running business, and he's doing, it seems like it's growing, you know, it's doing excellent. But now it's like, okay, I want to grow mine too. So it was kind of like putting mine at a pause, and mine was at a pause for a little bit, or a very steady state, and it was like his was growing. and I'm like, well, his is growing. I want mine to grow too,
Yeah.
and
That competitive.
yeah, yeah, the competitive side of me like comes in, and I'm like, I wanna do this, and it's just learning to communicate, and like I said, just finding the time to do it,
Yeah.
because it's not impossible. It's very doable. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, you do it.
Yeah.
You
Well, I'm
know?
sure. I think you're starting to find out that. I think earlier you spoke about trying to do everything yourself, right? There's a lot of that, and that came. I experienced that early when I first started running my business at the beginning. I wanted to do everything, and I was like, nobody's gonna do it better, right? Or you just want to be the one who grows it.
Yeah.
It's your baby, and you want to be. At the beginning for me, it was more like I wanted to be in the spotlight.
Right.
Right, and it's like I want to be on the front page, and saying that I did it. That was my belief at the beginning. But as you start growing, you start realizing like there's a lot of things that I don't know, and you went through an experience where you had to give up some of your care and receive some help and ask for help, and then which technically you're building a team. Right. And now you're starting to see, oh, now I freed some time. So now I can grow. Right. So it sounds like building a team is what we all need. Right. We can't do this by ourselves.
Yeah.
And we only have so much bandwidth that we can give until it's time to, one, we have to hire someone who's smarter than us that can contribute to the business. Right. And then it comes with all this other stuff that you got to learn.
Yeah.
Besides learning communication, you had to learn how to lead others. You had to learn how to inspire others. You had to learn how to get everybody on the same boat and understand where we're all going. Right. So there's a huge learning curve that comes with growing a business. And, I'm still learning it. I still run myself to the ground every 3 months. I burn myself out because I overdid something that I shouldn't. I said yes to something that I should have said no.
Yeah.
For that same reason, the competitive side, what do you mean I'm not going to handle it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sometimes we run ourselves into a wall. And I was having a very interesting conversation earlier today with Cody, and he was talking about balance, right? We're always trying to find this balance, and it's more of a range, right? It's more of, he used the term, he described it in a sense where he said, it's this glass with water that you're just trying to figure out its tipping point on both sides, right? Like, how far can I go this way before I start to spill the water? And then how far can I take it this way before I start to spill it as well? And so we're just looking for those moments where we're like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, Gracie, so I was being a mom. I started tipping this way. And I started feeling too depressed. I started feeling bad. So I need to put myself back into the business because I know that makes me happy. I need to start working out. Great. Then you start going. Then you try to grow it. So you take on more responsibilities, right? And you start tipping it the other way. And now you're like, my babies are crying now. Oh, man, I'm not spending time with them, right? So now you learn that's as much bandwidth as you have by yourself. So then, what if I throw another person in there?
Yeah.
What would that do? And then you're going back. So you bring that back. Okay, great. I got some more time. But now I have problems with this employee because I don't know how to lead.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's learn what I need to say or and I think there's a lot of that. One thing that has helped me a lot has been books. Just reading books or listening to books. I listen to a lot of them. That's helped me a lot. Having a mentor has helped me a lot. And we were actually having this conversation earlier about, if you really want to take it to the next step, I highly advise that you get a mentor because they've been through it.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously finding someone that aligns with you is difficult. Right. So maybe someone who already has experience, being a parent, because one thing that I didn't know as a coach when I was young, I would tell parents, like, you just got to do it. You got to find the time. They were like, just wait till you have your kid. And it's like, now, okay, I get it. I get what you're talking about, right? So there's going to be some, I think for you, you'll probably have to, continue to grow your team, which is an exciting part for you.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're looking forward to?
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. Um, I love working as a team. I've played soccer for years, and it was just like learning to play together. If you wanted to be successful, you had to be like on the same page. And even like when I was working with you guys, it was like working as a team too. Like you're growing together, and having the same mindset, the same goals. It was just like, I need that. I need like-minded people like me, and
Yeah.
So definitely hiring help, in the business aspect, because one, I have no clue what's the next step, or like what I need to continue to grow, and it's just like finding the right resources too. Like you said, like somebody that maybe already is a parent and has a growing business too, because they'll know how to help you time manage too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're going into this unknown world, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's definitely scary, and it's definitely hard. But I also think that it's, to me, that's what excites me. Like, I don't know what tomorrow could look like. And you were talking about dreaming, right? You were talking about dreaming into the future. Like, I want Luca to, once again, same thing as you. I want him to be like, wow, my dad built this, and I want him to go through that with me, so that when he gets older, he has all the confidence to take on whatever role he wants to. And it's not to be a business owner. It's just, hey, you want to be a professional athlete? Great, be a professional athlete. You want to be a doctor? Great, be a doctor, right? But I want to be a living example for him to understand, like, it's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of hard work. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, but no matter what, you have to continue to push through, and you have to be okay with sucking at certain times. We're all going to suck at anything that we do for the first time, right? And the faster that you learn that becoming vulnerable is important, because that's how you connect with people. Once you have the connection, then we can move forward. But if we continue to say, no, I got this, and deep inside we're just burning, right? Eventually we're going to run ourselves into the ground, and, that comes with a big, hefty price. So that's awesome. I think that you're going to be very successful. I've seen your work ethic, when you work with us, and I know that you're a team player, and I'm super stoked that you're continuing to do this. And I think you're a big inspiration to a lot of people, and a lot of females in particular, a lot of moms. And sometimes we just need to take a moment and just look back and see everything that we've done, right? And I was telling you earlier, I was listening to a podcast that Kevin Hart was giving, and he was talking a lot about that, right? Like, we have this expectancy of what the future should look like and when it should be. But if we just take a step back and if we look back and we're like, all right, I'm in a better place than I was before, and just appreciate and live that moment, you're going to do well, because now you got a right head on your shoulders. You know that whatever's coming in front of you is difficult, but you're going to continue to go. And these moments are going to continue to happen, right? These struggles are going to continue to happen. But every time you get a win, you got to celebrate it. You got to live that moment, you know? I think that's a big reminder that I try to give myself. You have to take a step back and just absorb everything of what you've built, right? Yeah. Forget about what everybody else is doing. Yeah. Look at what you've built, right? You went from, being single to being in a relationship to joining a challenge to taking a job of a place that realistically some skills that maybe you lacked in, right? To willing to put in the time to learn and put yourself in a very uncomfortable place, and working in a workplace with all men, you know, you were.
I know. I was
It's
like,
really hard to
guys.
it's really hard to get women into the coaching world. At least we haven't found them here. And so, and being able to adapt to that, to becoming a mom, to, you know, and prior to that, starting your business, becoming a mom, and pushing through all that, like you've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
And so, don't forget to take a moment
Yeah.
and just. And I use this with all my clients. Write down everything you've done in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Just write them down.
Mm-hmm.
And then just take a moment and appreciate yourself, because we need to do that a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if more people sat down and wrote out all the important things and everything that we've done that has pushed us forward, and just took a moment and said, you know, good job, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You know, good job, Gracie. Like, you're doing amazing. Right.
Yeah.
I think we'd be in a much better place.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and so that's just a friendly reminder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the sauce. You know, you get lost and you just forget how far you've come, and you're like, I overcame a challenge years ago, and I got through it, and then it's like, oh, I'm back in the same hole that I was feeling again. How do I got through it once, how do I get through it again, you know? And it's like learning how to cope with feeling lost, you know, a couple times, because I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen again.
Oh, 100%.
Feeling lost and losing yourself, but now it's like, okay, I've how do I prevent from feeling lost, you know? Or if I get lost, okay, let me find my way. And
well, you're collecting data,
mm-hmm.
right? You know the signs of what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
You know when you're starting to run into a wall. You know when you're getting close to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least I hope after running a few times into it, you're like, I've been there before.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt these emotions before. I've acted this way before. Why am I doing that?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Right? I try to become more aware of how I act or what emotions I'm going through, and just accept them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to accept them.
Yeah.
It's not all the emotions that you feel are normal.
Mm-hmm.
We're humans.
Yeah.
We're all going to experience them, and nothing's ever going to last forever.
Yeah.
Right? And the more we're okay with that, the faster we're going to be able to get out of these holes. Mm-hmm. You know, quote unquote holes, but I think they're just hurdles that push us forward. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. It's the unknown world.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, it was a pleasure to have you here.
It was nice talking to you.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
We haven't had a chance to talk in a long time. It's been almost 2 years.
Yeah.
I know you've been working hard at being a mom, and I know you've been working hard at your business. And once again, we're always here. You know, you have our community. You have access to all our community. You're welcome to bring in your meals here at any time. And if you're listening and you're part of our community, go check out Fit Life Meals. Right? Check them out.
Thank you.
What's your Instagram?
Fit Life Meals, just like that.
All one word?
Yeah.
Sounds good. And what's your Instagram?
Gracie.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
No underscore, nothing?
There's like GRA_C, 2 I's and 3 E's.
Okay. We'll add you. We'll tag you.
Yeah, that's too hard.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here once again.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good day.